Yeah, you have, it wasn't so easy to get into it, and usually you had to find somebody to help you that would tell you something about it. And everyone, getting into tattooing, everyone would always say, well, you have to do an apprenticeship and like sweep the floor for a year and all that stuff. Nobody really did that. It was just you basically, I mean, the way I got some information was I pestered this guy until he was sick of me and finally told me some stuff. I knew enough about it from when I was a little kid because I was hung up in tattooing when I was 10 years old. I was determined to be a tattooer, and I had catalogs from tattoo suppliers. This was like in the mid-50s, man, when there was not much at all. There were maybe 300 tattooers in the whole U.S. and Canada. It was really low-key. But you had to be, you just had to be really convinced somebody that could handle it. And, in the old days, it was more rough and tumble, too, especially if you were tattooing in sailor town environments or down in honky-tonk zones, if you were working late at night. And, you get a lot of hassle with people. And it was just a different kind of a thing. A lot of the clientele was more like the old stereotype, it was just kind of out there to make trouble. And, you didn't have, I think you had a percentage of people that were really into like digging the art of it or whatever, or wanting something unique, but they were definitely in the small percentage, so it was a different kind of a thing. The best thing was tattooing the best was tattooing in military towns, because all the sailors and Marines they had to take a shower every day, and they all got their food and lodging and everything paid, so they could blow their money on tattoos, and they were polite, and it was much better than tattooing civilians, or it was pretty good tattoo. I tattooed in San Diego for 4 years, and that was pretty good. Wow. The guy that had been in the Bay Area the longest here at that time was Lyle Tuttle. He'd been down by the Greyhound Depot at 7th, right off of Market Street. Lyle had an upstairs place there. And he was the only tattooer in San Francisco for a lot of years, from the early 60s. I met Lyle on the Pike in Long Beach in the mid-50s when he was learning. And Lyle's like, took maybe 15 years older than me or something. And he was here, and then this guy, Pat Martinuik, that opened Picture Machine out on Gary Boulevard. He came down from Canada and worked for Lyle for 5 years. And right about when I opened in town, Pat split off and opened his place. But that was really the only game in town. There had been a few tattoo shops in Oakland. When I was learning from Phil Sparrow over there in the late 60s, there were a few guys. There was this guy they called Shaky Jake, who was an old wino that had a place there, and Davy Jones, who used to work with Lyle, and a guy named Red Farrell used to be over there. There were about 4 tattoo shops in Oakland when I first started getting my tattoos and really trying to get into it. There was Lyle here and about 4 in Oakland, and maybe 1 in San Jose, and then you had to go to LA before there was somebody else, so there really weren't many around. It was like few and far between. Yeah, it's been a tattoo mecca, because I think contemporary tattooing started in California, because even though Sailor Jerry was like the god that kicked it all off, Jerry was from Northern California. He lived in Hawaii since the 30s. I think that California in general kicked off really the idea of modern tattooing, and then specifically San Francisco, because Lyle he wasn't so innovative as a tattooer, but he was really media savvy, and he tattooed Janis Joplin and all this stuff. So when the hippie stuff happened, when acid hit and everything changed for the world, Lyle started tattooing some of these people, and people were picking up on that, and there was this whole like Human Being, the gathering of the tribes. There was all this shift of consciousness in the 60s that was absolutely centered in San Francisco. And it was, of course, it grew out of the beat movement, which was here in the 50s, but Lyle was really smart, and he could promote himself really well, and tattooing was so exotic that it was like, oh, this strange thing that people just said, oh, sailors were doing it, but all of a sudden, like hippies were starting to do it. So that helped a lot, and then when I came in here in '74, it changed, the whole environment of doing the private shop, and most of my customers were other tattooers from all over the world, so people would come in and see what I was doing, and the setup that I was doing it in, and go back home and take some of those ideas to their home things. So, and then there's just been so many really talented people, coming around in California, and I think that the openness of the environment and the possibility of doing creative stuff, and especially in the Bay Area, living as some kind of a different lifestyle, and hopefully mainly being left alone if you're not causing somebody else any grief, that's been really good. That, to me, I think socially is really important for the growth of tattooing, because tattooing is nobody else's business but the person wearing it, but people always make your life their business, and here you could have that kind of flowering of self-expression, for lack of a better word.